cause that be natural.
Lady
I ain't
D.
looking tacky. I keep my game tactful.
Yo.
Yeah, I'm so nappy.
M.O.B.
Cause that be natural.
The
I
infamous.
ain't looking tacky cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fat, boo, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo, stuck in these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all this jersey on that cartoon and I'm still on top.
Back to afros and baby hairs, and thank you for joining me in the reading room once again for book review number 15 on the Lipstick Clique 1. So if you're interested in hearing what I have to say about this book, then please stay tuned. I am not and do not promote this book to anyone who is under the age of 18. That is not my intention or motive. If you are under the age of 18, please get your parents' consent and or supervision. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get into this book review. So I want to start off by reading the back of the book, and it reads, Treasure was betrayed and tricked by the person she loved, so she got revenge by escaping prison and enacting a blood campaign. However, the person she rode with while getting her revenge was also trying to betray her. Treasure has caught a lot of bad breaks in life, but the one thing that keeps her level-headed is her crime family, the Lipstick Clique. Read this sizzling tale of romantic, mind-blowing, crime family operated, bankroll squad affiliated, me and my bitch associated, unpredictable literary insanity. I want to tell you all about the characters of this book. First of all, we have Treasure, who is the head of the Lipstick Clique. We have Milan, who is a member of the Lipstick Clique and a twin to Sky. Sky is a member of the Lipstick Clique and a twin to Milan. You have Lena, who's Milan's adopted daughter and new member of the Lipstick Clique. You have also briefly Raleigh from Bankroll Squad, but he's from the Dynasty Cartel. You have Danielle, who is a stripper and a sister to the Dirt Mob. You have Grimmer, who's a brother to Danielle, and Five, who is a member of the Dirt Mob. You have Five, who is the brother to Grimmer and Danielle and a member of the Dirt Mob. You have Meatloaf, who is a member of the Dirt Mob. You have Snowflake, who is a stripper girlfriend to DJ Bazzy. You have Tara, who is a homeless girl who befriends Lena and eventually becomes a member of the Lipstick Clique. You also have Tara's dad. He is a serial child molester and rapist. You have DJ Bazzy, who is Snowflake's man. You have Vicky, who's Milan's cellmate. And you have Gigi, a dealer to Milan and a friend of Tyra. And I think I covered everybody. The book actually starts where the Lipstick Clique left off in Bankroll Squad 3, where the scene was them at the gas station and Raleigh rolled up in his pickup truck, blocked them in, and hopped out with his shotgun. As Treasure was walking out of the store and the twins were ducking down in their vehicle. Anyway, Raleigh did end up shooting at their vehicle, but he was the only target to get shot. Treasure ended up taking him out. As they were leaving the scene, Milan saw a group of Chinese girls who were in karate uniforms staring at them and pointing. She told Treasure to stop the vehicle. Then she got out and ended up shooting the girls. Mind you, they are still at the gas station, and this gas station has surveillance cameras. So once again, she pissed off the clique with her antics. Either way, they fled the scene before authorities arrived. Girls decided that because they had become hot, it was time for them to relocate from Houston. The FBI was closing in on them, and they were all over the news. So 10 days later, they ended up in Columbus, Georgia. They didn't really know anyone in Georgia. However, Treasure began to visit a strip club regularly and met this girl named Danielle. She would tip Danielle well and always ask for her. Soon they developed a friendship, and Danielle started to give her more and more information about the ballers from the city. She ended up telling Treasure about this one guy who kept all of his money in his house in a trash can. So of course Treasure told the clique, and they planned to rob the dude. Anyway, upon them gearing up to go in, They were interrupted by a gang of men who beat them to the punch. These men acted as if they didn't see the girls staked out in front of the house, and they proceeded with the task of going in and murking the target and his wife. However, they didn't rob him. Once they did what they came to do, they dipped. Treasure was pissed and felt like Danielle, the stripper, had set her up. Milan hopped out of the car running full speed because she still wanted dude's money that was stashed in the trash. However, when she got to the front door of the house, she saw the massacre that had taken place and didn't want to leave her footprints in the blood. Sky, her twin, was right behind her, trying to stop her, and witnessed the same scene. Either way, they decided to leave, but right before they left Milan, she ran back to get the money, and she came back not only with the money, but also with the child by the name of Lena. She was the victim's daughter. So once again, she pissed off the clique in a major way, especially when she refused to leave the child. The girls were staying in a hotel initially in one room, but since Milan wanted to babysit, they decided it was time to get separate rooms. Treasure went her way, Milan and Lena, the little girl, went their way, and Sky took the money that Milan got from the robbery and went her way. Sky got to her room and was actually relieved to finally be in her own space. She counted the money and eventually went off to sleep, only to be awakened by the cops knocking on the room door. They had come by to ask did she know anything about the gunshots being heard coming from the hotel. As soon as the cops left, she went to go to her twin's room. When she got there, she had her pistol drawn because she saw that the door was wide open. Treasure saw her and told her to talk some sense into Milan because her and her stepdaughter, they had been up all night shooting pistols. Either way, Treasure was hot and was ready to relocate once again. The girls decided they needed a new vehicle, not realizing that Treasure had already got them one. However, Treasure let them carry on for her amusement, especially after seeing that Milan had turned the little girl into a miniature version of her. After only one night, they ended up getting another whip and met at a supermarket in the parking lot. Once they got there, Milan and Lena ran inside the little girl to rob the supermarket, another spontaneous antic that wasn't approved by the clique. So at this point, Treasure was fed up with the shenanigans because she didn't train the Lipstick Clique to be so sloppy. So she gave Sky a choice to either leave Milan and Lena and come with her or stay with them. Sky chose to stay with her sister, and Treasure went on her way, accepting the disloyalty for what it was. Milan and Lena came running out of the supermarket with paper bags full of money, screaming for Sky to crank up and roll. They ended up going to a car wash and leaving in a Nissan Pathfinder that belonged to a dude named Grimmer, who promised himself that he was going to handle them whenever he saw them again. He had gotten the SUV illegally, so he couldn't call the cops anyway. He ended up stopping at a convenience store. She stopped at a convenience store, lost in her thoughts. She was pissed because Danielle had tried to get her killed, and she was planning her next moves. A guy was trying to flirt with her, but she really wasn't paying him any attention. However, remembering that she didn't know many people in Columbus, she started a brief conversation with the guy and found out that his name was Five. Still busy training Lena, she now had the girl calling her mama. Also, Milan was, dabbling with PCP and coke along with her weed habit. She got the harder drugs from previous robberies, so this explains why she is becoming more compulsive and more spontaneous. Treasure went back to the strip club to find Danielle, so she sat and waited right by the stage. Snowflake was somewhat performing as best she could with a rusty stripper pole and was being cheered on by the DJ, who was clearly her boyfriend, who was making her strip for his personal gain. Next up was Danielle, who immediately took off running the minute she saw Treasure. Treasure took off behind her. Snowflake was watching the scene because she really didn't care much for Danielle. Either way, Danielle ended up explaining to Treasure that the dudes that showed up during the attempted robbery were actually a gang called the Dirt Mob, who were assassins, and they were also her brothers. She could not lie to them, and her job was to get all the information she could on their victims. She ended up introducing Treasure to her two brothers, Grimmer and Five, and their friend Meatloaf. Went to go to Milan and Lena's room to discover they weren't there. So she went and had a key made at the front desk. She jogged back to her sister's room, hoping that they were in there asleep. But when she opened the door, she didn't find them. But she did see the PCP, weed, and coke in the room. Milan had taken Lena to complete her first robbery by herself. Mind you, Lena is only 13 years old and Milan is high off the drugs. Either way, they ended up at a pawn shop. Milan told her to go in and get the money and guns and shoot anyone that jumps. The girl went in and did as her mommy told her to do. She got the money and the guns and held up the owner, manager, and assistant manager. The guns were too heavy for her to carry out. She did get the money and had to shoot the assistant manager, I think. She missed the first time, sending a straight bullet elsewhere, then ended up grazing the guy with the second shot. She eventually ran out of the pawn shop with the money, straight to the car Milan was in, only to find Milan playing games with the locks because she was high. Eventually, Milan let the girl in, and then she went into a deep sleep right there in the parking lot of the pawn shop where the robbery had taken place. The assistant manager was the son of the owner of the pawn shop, and his mother worked next door in a beauty salon. So he went to check on her, only to find out his little sister had been shot by that straight bullet that Lena shot. Later, the police arrived, and since Milan was still asleep, the little girl put the money in her gun in Milan's lap and began to run. She ended up hiding in some bushes a few blocks away. Treasure ended up remembering Five from the store that day when he was trying to holler at her. That day, she wasn't really paying him any attention, but this day she was in love with his very existence, and Danielle caught on quickly that the two of them had a thing for each other. And by her knowing them both individually, she knew that they were perfect for each other. She also knew that Treasure needed help in the romance department since it had been so long since she actually had a man. So she decided to invite Treasure to her house to give her some pointers. Sky was on a mission to find Treasure, so she hit up the strip club asking everybody she could did they know Treasure or Danielle. Nobody in the club was willing to assist her. Soon she was approached by Snowflake, who figured that Sky was trying to rob Treasure and wanted to be down. Snowflake didn't have a personal vendetta or anything against Treasure. She just needed money to get out of Georgia and go back home. She had met the DJ on Facebook, and they started a long-distance relationship. Eventually, she came down from Ohio to finally meet him in person and to spend the weekend. And she has been here ever since. He has been holding her hostage, making her strip and taking all of her money. He has also threatened to kill her if she does leave. And the one time he caught her at the bus station, she got the worst beating of her life. So in other words, she got involved with the Looney Tune. Sky played along with Snowflake just to find out where Treasure was. She needed Snowflake to show her where Treasure was living, so she pretended to be down, with the robbery. But deep inside, she knew she had to murk Snowflake because she knew way too much about Treasure. Milan ended up in jail, facing life in prison. In jail, she meets a girl named Vicky, who is locked up due to selling fake IDs from the DMV. Snowflake ended up at the address where Treasure was supposed to be, and then after sitting there for a moment analyzing the situation, Snowflake's door was opened by her crazed boyfriend DJ, who assumed the girls were trying to plan this robbery without him. Mind you, any money Snowflake got, he took. Anyway, DJ told the girls he was going to rob the house while they sat and watched. Sky and Snowflake got out of the car watching DJ walk toward the house, only to be attacked from behind. A guy grabbed Sky and another one grabbed Snowflake as DJ fell to the ground because one of the men had shot him. The men who came on the scene were the Dirt Mob, Danielle's brothers, and they assumed that Sky, Snowflake, and DJ were there to rob their sister. Later, Danielle and Treasure came out to see what was going on. The men explained what they assumed because they still had Sky's and Snowflake's mouth covered, so the girls couldn't explain anything. Of course, Treasure recognized Sky because they were supposed to be best friends, but she didn't know what to think anymore since her best friend had betrayed her. So to prove to her new friends she was a loyal chick, she wasted Sky and Snowflake without hesitating. Lena ended up in a park full of homeless people. She walked and walked past tents, people sleeping on the ground and benches until she found an empty bench to sleep on. Eventually, she found one and proceeded to lay down and fall asleep and was interrupted by an old man trying to rape her. He had pulled his pants down and has gotten her pants down to her ankles before a girl came at him with a bat. It was actually his daughter, Tara, who he had raped and molested for years until her mother finally left them because Tara refused to tell her what was going on. The man had raped several girls and women in the park, and Tara was sick of it. There were even people ready to kill him. Either way, Lena ended up running off, and Tara decided to follow her because she didn't want to be around her perverted dad anymore. Plus, she thought she could help Lena. Lena ended up lying to Tara about her age. Tara was 19 and Lena lied like she was 19, but really she was barely 14. Anyway, Lena ended up convincing Tara that she was the founder, creator, and leader of the Lipstick Clique and began teaching her everything that Milan had taught her. Soon, they were around the city, bagging bodies and robbing people. They had made plenty of money, enough to get their own place and all of the luxuries that they wanted. However, unlike the original Lipstick Clique, they spent everything they earned as quickly as it came. They were wild and reckless. Five eventually started seeing each other, and soon thereafter they were in love. Treasure vowed not to let anyone come between them. Soon, Five proposed to her and revealed that he had been watching her and following her around before they got together. He knew that they were there that night they killed the couple at the house her girls were about to rob, and he also knew that she killed her own homegirl that night at Danielle's house. Either way, before answering his proposal, she requested to know his last name because she didn't even know his real name. He told her her new last name would be Powers, like Malcolm from the Bankroll Squad. Milan had told Vicky about the time she was facing, all of what the attorneys were offering her, and she spoke on the things she did in the past with the Lipstick Clique. Vicky listened to Milan for 2 hours, observing all of the information, and began working on her own plan. The next day, they called Milan back to meet with her attorney. Come to find out, she was meeting with a prosecutor and a special agent who were trying to turn her into a snitch. If she would help them catch up with Treasure, who may have murdered her twin, Sky, the rest of the Lipstick Clique, including the new members, the Dirt Mob, as well as the Bankroll Squad. They needed her to lead them to all of these affiliated gangs. Milan was a wreck after learning of Sky's death at the hands of her best friend. She also eventually agreed to cooperate with the prosecutor and the special agent because she wanted to get to Lena before she ruined her life. Treasure had passed out for 12 hours before she woke up to Five bringing her a home-cooked meal. Right when she was once again about to tell him about her past, she decided to postpone it longer when he told her his last name was Powells instead of Powers. Meatloaf and Grimmer were at a sports bar having lunch. Meatloaf had lost a bet because he was sure that Five and Treasure wouldn't last 6 months. However, the couple was still going strong. Meatloaf had voiced his opinion about Treasure. He knew that she was hiding something. Grimmer knew it too, just opted to mind his business. Anyway, when Grimmer went to the bathroom, Meatloaf saw Treasure on the news. However, he didn't hear what the news said because the bartender couldn't locate the remote fast enough. So by the time the TV was turned up and Grimmer was out of the bathroom, the segment had ended. Meatloaf tried to explain to Grimmer that Treasure was just on TV. But when Grimmer asked why was she on TV and Meatloaf didn't have an answer, Grimmer wasn't buying it, because the TV he claimed to have seen her on was turned up loud and clear. The news report too, learning about this 14 and 18-year-old who she supposedly adopted that were in the streets acting complete fools. They also accused Treasure of murdering one of the original members and had $1 million reward for her arrest. Or ended up bagging her dad and his new white girlfriend right there in the Walmart parking lot. She ended up blasting on a few other bystanders as well. Tara and Lena actually were wilding out, acting complete fools. They had also recently seen the news report and knew that they were wanted, so they had to start keeping a low profile, and they had to relocate to a different apartment. They did have one trusted friend, and that was Gigi, who was also a mutual friend of Milan. However, Lena nor Tara knew that at the time. She was released from prison to begin her new role working for the feds. They gave her a full week to get herself familiar with her old lifestyle. Her first hit was a random dope boy copping her a cool $60,000. She used some of the money to buy a used car, supply her drug habit, and to get info out of Gigi. 5 went to a convenience store to get Treasure some Tylenol. He ended up bumping into a girl he thought he knew from somewhere, and she ended up showing him a video on her iPad of the news report video about Treasure. He was shocked at what he saw, but he knew he had to get the Treasure and get her out of Dodge. The girl that showed him this was Milan. Next pointer. Meanwhile, Milan made her way to the apartment Lena and Tara were staying in. She showed up with food for the starving Lena and Tara when they were actually expecting Gigi. However, Lena and Milan had their mini reunion, and Lena gave Milan a bag with $25,000 in it that Tara knew nothing about. Anyway, Milan showed her theatric skills in hopes to execute her plans. She was fake crying and carrying on just to get the girls on board to set up the bankroll squad. She promised the girls $1 million payoff. They both agreed, not really knowing all the details of the intended plan. 5 didn't mention to Treasure what he had witnessed. He still was waiting on her to tell him. However, she chose not to still. Instead, she cried and asked him if he loved her. Of course, he said yes, so next she made him prove it by asking him to leave with her. He accepted, and they left in the middle of the night, headed to Jacksonville, Florida, leaving his family behind. Meanwhile, Lena, Tara, and Milan were on a jet headed to the Philippines. Milan had gotten everything clear with the FBI to approve the travel out of the country. However, the plan was to kidnap Malcolm and Kyla's baby and bring her back to the U.S. just to lure the bankroll squad back to the States and into the hands of the feds. Also, she planned on turning the girls over as soon as they got back to U.S. soil. However, the kidnapping went absolutely wrong. They ended up sitting outside of the Powers estate for an hour, scoping out the couple's behavior and waited until they were in a deep sleep. Milan had on some high-tech binoculars so that she could see exactly what was going on. They spent about 20 minutes disarming the security system to the estate. Finally, they climbed in through a small window. They had the baby after a few minutes, then headed back out of the small window. Tara went first while Lena held the baby. Then Lena handed the baby back to Tara so that she could position her body through the small opening. However, Lena got stuck, and Milan had to use all of her strength to push Lena through. By this time, Kyla was making her way to the baby's room to change her diaper and to bond with her. The girls heard Kyla heading to the baby's room. When Kyla made it to the baby room, she screamed upon finding the ransom note Milan had left in the baby's crib, waking Malcolm, who already had his pistol locked and loaded. They went running throughout the house to discover Milan trying to escape through the small opening and still had one leg inside of the estate. Kyla pulled her back in by that available leg and began to beat her the same way she did when she first met her. However, Lena and Tara were gone with the baby and still had plans of relocating and collecting the ransom money. 5 arrived at the new apartment in Florida. 5 decided to go get them some food and was gone 2 hours before Treasure called him. She waited because she was watching the authorities surround their apartment. 5 basically told her that he couldn't believe she tried to play him, but was happy she made his dreams come true because he had always dreamed of becoming a millionaire, to be able to take care of his family, and he would choose that over love any day. So he was about to become a millionaire because that was the reward for Treasure's arrest. So she watched him and the lead detective shake hands, take pictures, and watch the officers prepare to bust into the apartment on her with their guns drawn. Eventually, they barged in and came out empty-handed because Treasure was across the street in a different apartment building watching the scene. She also saw when they turned on 5 and put him in handcuffs. So that's what's crazy, and that's where the book actually ends. So I do want to give my thoughts on this particular book. My thoughts and opinions. So first of all, I feel like Milan has lost her mind in this book, and the drugs that make the situation any better. How and why did she think kidnapping that girl was a good idea? If you're already in a crime family and you're bringing along a child, I think that is the most dangerous place for a child to be. But I didn't see how that made sense to her. I have never seen a 13-year-old that naive to believe that this strange woman who tried to rob her biological parents is she believed that this woman is her mother after a couple of days of being with her. And I feel like no one has that type of influence on another person in just one night. So yeah, they were saying that Milan was able to turn this girl into a miniature version of herself in just 24 hours. I thought that was wild. Then Danielle betrayed Treasure because luckily she didn't get her killed, and you know, it was for blood. You know, the reasoning for her doing what she did, because the dirt mob was her brothers and she owed them her loyalty as well. So I do understand the predicament. It was wrong for turning her back on Milan and forcing Scott to choose. I also think Treasure was wrong for murking her best friend for a group of people she didn't owe any loyalty to. Then she did it without hesitation. She didn't even give her best friend an opportunity to speak her piece, just went off of reactionary assumptions. So in my eyes, Treasure was the disloyal one. I am so tired of hearing about these men that only get with women to actually have access to their daughters. And each book that I've read lately has been the same scenario. You know, so this is an eye-opener. So it looks like to me that women need to watch men around their daughters, and men need to watch these women around your sons. There are still sick and twisted up people in this world, you know, still perverts lurking in the streets looking for single mothers to prey on, as well as their children. And there are also even biological parents who are screwed up in the head that want to molest their own flesh and blood. Minor children, like the old man in this book. I really don't blame the mother for leaving his butt. And I wouldn't have blamed her if she had murked them both, the husband, because he was a fool and a pervert who does not deserve to be free to cause any more suffering to innocent children. The daughter, because she didn't want to tell on him. So in other words, she made it seem like she enjoyed what they had going on. So who wants to stick around and be a part of this sickness? And who wants to be married to a perverted, child molesting, incest believing, nasty psychopath? So anyway, in the end, the nasty daddy got what he deserved, because although I don't condone violence, I do not condone causing suffering either to innocent children or violating children. Kids, hide your wife. Hide your kids, hide your wife. And that is for real. Thing is, I think Milan is wrong for her choices too. She should have just did her 27-year bid and let everyone get it how they live, no matter what snitches in it up in ditches. And disloyalty is the worst thing to me. I would take a loyal person even over love. You feel what I'm saying? I think loyalty is more important than love, because somebody can love you and still be disloyal. So anyway, her choice is to go ahead and snitch even on the bankroll squad who has done nothing to her at all. Anyway, 5 really shocked me with his actions at the end. He played her to the very end. I really thought that love conquers all. Money can bring out the true character of people. So I feel like this book was really something else, but I'm ready to get to the Lipstick Clique 2. I guess Lena and Tara will carry the torch if they are able to survive the bankroll squad, because they are coming for their baby. And Treasure has some nerve trying to search for Milan now after she murked her twin and completely turned her back on them. I see why I have trust issues, because so many people have deceitful and loyalty issues, and I am upset with this. And this ain't even my reality or my life. It's just crazy out here. But anyway, if you read this book, leave your comments below and let us know your thoughts. For joining me in the reading room today, I really appreciate your time and energy. I hope to see you guys on the next one. Peace and love, and as always,
DJ Mike C on the track.
cause that be natural.
Lady D.
Ain't looking tacky, I keep my game tactful.
Yo,
Yeah, I'm so nappy, cause that be natural.
the infamous.
Ain't looking tacky, cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fabu, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo, fucking these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all is cheering on that cartoon, and I'm sitting on top of these buffoons. I'm so nappy, I'm so nappy. All these dudes that wanna get at me, I'm so cultured and I'm happy. Jealous switches wanna come back me, cause I'm comfortable in my skin. End of the day, you lose, I win. I'm so comfortable in my ends. Don't care if I make or lose a few friends, and I look like $1 trillion. Lady, we won a lotto, cause